and we have to really escalate the noise we make so that we'll be heard.
Live from New York, it's Gay USA. I'm Andy Hall.
On Wednesday afternoon, I'm Ann Northrup. I see, Andy, you've added a little Progress Pride flag to the background there.
Wow.
And you can see the corner of my rainbow flag that hangs in the front hall of my apartment. Another gift from Gilbert. That's an 8-striper.
Gilbert, maybe you should explain. Gilbert.
Gilbert Baker, one of at least the creators of the rainbow flag. I'm not willing to take sides in that dispute.
Okay.
Because I wasn't there.
Well, and I wasn't all there for watching the State of the Union message. I had it on the whole time, but it became quite irritating. But because Trump was making cringeworthy homophobic cracks, and he, if you can imagine it, stepped up his attacks on transgender people.
Yeah, he just gets crueler by the minute. We'll start off with a little
It's so appealing.
And the number of Republican heterosexual scandals is just multiplying geometrically.
Yes. Red states, the state legislative season is heating up, and the red states are finding new ways to attack LGBTQ rights, and New York hospitals are dumping trans youth care.
We do have a couple of positive stories from states, but LGBTQ activists in Texas and Florida are getting creative or continuing to get creative about putting rainbows in public places, like my front hallway.
Like my copy machine.
Yeah.
CBS News has sunk even farther under Barry Weiss.
If you can imagine. More Olympic gold for LGBTQ athletes as the Olympics wind up.
An out gay guy named Rob Jetten was sworn in as the Prime Minister of the Netherlands.
Book your airline tickets now. Disgraced out UK Paul, Peter Mandelson, was the latest arrest in the Epstein scandal.
This is in the wake of the Andrew arrest.
Yeah.
And Star Trek gets a gay Klingon.
Chris Cooper, our Star Trek correspondent, has alerted us to that because we're not hip to that.
So, and I guess I should check in. How are you, Ann?
I'm good and feeling optimistic. My cancer stuff is all under control at the moment, as far as I know. You never really know, but I'm not having any problems with that. And my back and hip are better, so I'm getting optimistic about golf trips this year. We'll see. It's all very fragile. I have to keep working on it.
So,
but not so fragile, just disgusting is Donald Trump, who all week has been doing things that are just cruel and horrible. His bigotry is getting more and more overt. The first thing, I think, was when the steel factory owner, he said, Trump went to visit the steel factory. It was all about tariffs and stuff. And he says, a strong, powerful man wanted to kiss me. I didn't want that. Oh, you missed that?
No, I guess I did. Thank you. And that's why I watch this show, because I learn a lot of things.
Well, that was just strike one this week out of many, and I'm sure we've missed many others, but it was extremely homophobic in its presentation and just so gratuitous. That Trump is the king of the gratuitous, bigoted, cruel remark.
And all that does is keep pumping up the hate base that he has and offers absolutely nothing to swing voters who.
And then and then there was the whole hockey team fiasco. he gets on the phone with the winning men's U.S. Olympic hockey team and says, I want you all to come to the State of the Union and the White House. Now, you understand I may have to invite the women too, because I'll probably be impeached if I don't. And I think, again, gratuitous misogyny. There's some homophobia in there too, I would say, because there's so many lesbians on those hockey teams. More about that later. But and then the men's hockey guys laugh along with him. Now, I think that's horrible. But I also understand in that situation how the sort of knee-jerk reaction is to laugh along. But it would have been nice if some of them had said, oh, please, wait a minute. Please don't say things like that.
The men's hockey players were being egged on by none other than Capt, who on our dime flew over to Milan for the game. He apparently is a hockey player himself. And then chugged beer and yucked it up with those guys, while all these investigations that he's supposed to be conducting in the United States of America go unattended.
But the team members were asked about this misogynist remark from Trump, and they said, oh, we love the women, and I'm sure they just were busy, and we're so excited about going to the White House and the State of the Union. You just don't get to do that. And I'm thinking, you didn't have to, first of all, you didn't have to go. And second of all, you could have said something more about his misogyny, which you didn't.
You don't understand. It's just locker room talk. But
they were in the locker room.
There were four men's players who would not go, who wouldn't go to the State of the Union. And three of them, at least maybe four, you're going to tell me now, were from Minnesota. Three of them were from Minnesota, which was an occupied territory for most of it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And of course, the women were busy because a lot of them are not professional players like a lot of the men. They are in school and they had exams to get back to and classes and other things. And besides, they don't like them and they didn't want to go. Nonetheless, Trump claimed at the State of the Union that the women would be coming soon. If you believe that, I have a bridge I want to sell you.
And of course, before he even got started with the speech, Representative Al Green, who was ejected from the last State of the Union for yelling at Trump, was ejected for holding up a sign which I think most Americans would agree with. Black people aren't apes. And for this, he got thrown out of the place.
Yes, he did. He didn't even yell. Last time he yelled, that's what got him thrown out. This time he just held up the sign and he was escorted out of the room. But a lot of the Democrats didn't go in the first place, right. Which I thought was...
attended the State of the Swamp event at the National Press Club or the People's State of the Union outside. And of course, Trump's speech was basically the state of his Confederacy, because he's a very disloyal American.
And transphobic.
But, Trump did have one, line. He said, the country has never been hotter than heated rivalry. He didn't say that. But that's, of course, the hot series these days. By the way, the creator of Heated Rivalry, Jacob Tierney, responded to criticism that the hit series is not realistic. He said, well, no crap, it's based on a Harlequin novel.
I thought the novel was based on something real, but I'm sure there's plenty of undercover homosexuality going on in men's hockey.
There's Trump. He's lost his tariffs case to the Supreme Court, who he has described as lapdogs and fools. And he immediately went into defying their ruling. So they showed a tiny bit of backbone on that case, which was a slam dunk, except for three justices. We'll see how far they go. By the way, Democrats, if we're going to talk politics, Democrats were celebrating a bunch of election wins on Tuesday night, in Pennsylvania, the party held on to its slim majority in the House of Representatives. Very important. It's like 1 or 2 seats. And they wanted a state house, a seat in Maine. And by the way, in Maine, this guy Plattner, who is sort of the populist candidate, he's leading Janet Mills, the governor, in that race by 38 points.
No.
30,
really?
That's what it says.
Wow.
I think it's like the Mamdani effect, or why we elected Mamdani in New York. If you get, and this is happening in Texas too, by the way, with Jasmine Crockett, where she's leading in the polls over, certainly over Paxton, the Ken Paxton, the vicious anti-LGBTQ Republican. And what this shows is if you give people somebody to vote for and stop all this nonsense, it has to be a moderate and we can't be offensive, just, people will vote for them.
Right. Be who you are and be loud about it.
Yes.
Well, that's advice we can give our friend Marnie von Wilpert, who's trying to run for Congress against the heinous Darrell Issa, and she has just been endorsed in the Democratic primary out there against a couple of Democratic men who are not appealing characters. So we'll see how she does.
And the redistricting of her district in California has been upheld.
Yes, and this is this key thing in California. They redistricted. They're hoping to pick up 5 seats. And one of the people they've targeted for defeat is this heinous Darrell Issa, who has been a monster in Congress for many years. They took away most of his Republican supporters and redid the district. So instead of being heavily Republican, it's now kind of 50-50 with maybe a slight edge to the Democrats. There are 3 Democrats in a primary coming up, one of whom is Marnie, who you've seen on this show, and who, full disclosure, is an old friend of mine, and her mother, who I went to high school with. And I've known her mother for 65 years. How could I not support Marnie? So they have a 3-way primary. Marnie is way ahead in the polling in that primary. And I hope we'll win that and go on to beat the, I'm sure, very formidable candidate, Darrell Issa.
I've known my best friend for 67 years, and I'm only 72. And we're going to see Frankenstein tonight because Jacob Elordi's going to be there. And the union, and well, why wouldn't I? All right, let's get into these heterosexual scandals. The husband of Trump's corrupt labor secretary, Laura Chavez.
What happened to Robert Garcia? I thought we were doing Epstein first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I missing?
Because the Epstein stuff is getting very, very interesting with the revelation this week that there is a woman who testified against Trump and claimed that when she was 13 or 14, he forced her into oral sex. Yes. And then when she bit his penis, he whacked her in the head.
Assault.
Yes, and the charge now is that the Department of Justice has buried the paperwork on that.
Well, that's the whole thing about the Epstein files. They're having great effects around the world, some in the United States in the corporate world, but not getting the politicians here. Yeah. Like Trump, who was the main, and they're doing everything they can to protect him over at what used to be called the Department of Justice.
And are we saying something about Robert Garcia in the midst of this? You have
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's very inspiring to see an out gay man, Robert Garcia, former mayor of Long Beach, who's in Congress now, head of the Oversight Committee, being the one who's the
minority leader of the Oversight Committee.
Yes, I'm sorry. Ranking member of the Oversight Committee. But to see him out there day after day, there are several others, but he's one of the leading voices of morality, of justice. and just and a gay man as opposed to these horrible heterosexuals.
All right, let's go to the long list of heterosexual miscreants.
Yes, well, so the husband of Trump's corrupt labor secretary, Lori Chavez de Reamer, has been barred from the Department of Labor after reports of sexual assault against people there. Two female staff members said this guy, Dr. de Reamer, has touched them inappropriately at the agency. So he's banned. And they're looking into all that. But that's not the end of the story. The Inspector General's office, I can't believe there still is one in the Trump administration, is investigating a formal complaint that Ms. Chavez de Reamer is having an inappropriate sexual relationship with a member of her security detail and abusing her office, taking staff to strip clubs, drinking alcohol on the job, and taking personal trips at taxpayer expense. Unbelievable. And she's somebody who's pushed out thousands of department employees out of the federal service. And her department also broadcast during social media messages echoing things used by white nationalists. It's a cesspool.
It is. And then there's Tony Gonzalez in Texas, a representative who is accused of having possibly an affair with a staffer. He kept sending her sexual texts, and she finally sent him a text saying, "Is this why you hired me? Because you thought I was attractive?" And he said, "Oh, no, not at all." And then sent her another sexual text. And she ended up—
tell me you didn't just hire me because I was hot, she wrote. And now she has taken her own life.
Exactly.
She's married. Gonzalez is also married and has 6 children. So obviously there's a tremendous, he'll probably lose his primary, although you never know with Republican voters.
Well, they're trying to get him to resign. He's resisting.
Yeah. And of course, Mike Johnson, the speaker, is trying to hold on to him and let the thing play out because he doesn't have any votes to spare in that majority.
Well, it's just how low will they go? How many people will they hold on to? Evidently, you can do anything if you're a Republican in Congress now because they need your votes so badly.
And it's very bad up there in Alaska, where Craig Scott Valdez on the left there had an image of his Snapchat avatar he allegedly used to solicit minors for sexual exploitation. He's been arrested on federal charges of sex trafficking and child exploitation, enticement, coercion, blah, 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 goes on and on and on. He is connected to an incident involving a 15-year-old girl he allegedly enticed to his Anchorage home through social media. It goes on and on and on, so he's out.
All right, I feel absolutely filthy. Let's get back.
I need a shower. I needed a shower after the State of the Union, and I took one.
Well, let's get back to real issues. I want to talk about the Department of Defense for a second. They are arguing successfully now that anyone with HIV should not be allowed in the military. This is an argument that's gone back and forth for years, but we resolved it some years ago by proving that people with HIV were perfectly capable of serving in the military, were no more expensive taking their drugs than anyone else with any other condition, and were not a threat to the rest of the armed forces. So,
it's being upheld in the Fifth Circuit in Texas. So it can go to higher courts and we can do better. And by now, if it gets to the Supreme Court, they may not be so disposed to support the guy calling them lapdogs and fools.
Well, it was the Fourth Circuit that now says the ban is rational. That HIV positive people in the military could cause conflict in other countries. And of course, this ignores decades of medical advancement. This overturns a previous decision. So, and at one point they said they wouldn't take new people with HIV, but people who were already in could stay, or people who were in and acquired it could stay. All that's gone. Now they want to get rid of everybody.
And of course, lots of federal courts have ruled that depriving incarcerated trans people from medical treatment in prison violates the Eighth Amendment. But that's not stopping Trump. And what they're doing to trans prisoners is absolutely draconian, denying them gender-affirming care other than psychotherapy. And he's doing executive orders on this in the Bureau of Prisons. Those already on hormones are supposed to be weaned off them, effectively forcing them to detransition. It's just grotesque. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which is tasked with enforcing the civil rights laws, has filed a lawsuit against a Coca-Cola distributor in the Northeast, saying the 2024 networking event for female employees at a Connecticut casino unlawfully excluded male employees. Can't do.
Yes, they had some guy who testified who said, I would have wanted to go. Too bad. Meanwhile, you know that the United States has pulled out of the World Health Organization and has canceled the US AID program. Well, now the government has decided they're going to create a new agency which will duplicate those functions at 3 times the cost of our participation in WHO and the WHO and USAID. And
in the spirit of what I call soft secession, states like California are making agreements to work with the World Health Organization.
And the FCC has now announced it's going to investigate The View for equal time violations.
And Jimmy
Absolute
Kimmel,
nonsense.
and all that. So back to the Department of Justice. They're investigating whether schools taught about LGBTQ people without letting parents opt out. And they say it's now illegal for schools to acknowledge the existence of LGBTQ people unless religious parents can keep their kids from hearing about it.
Well, here's another removal. The Williams Institute says the feds have removed any mention of sexual orientation or gender identity from 360 surveys that they conduct annually. They really are trying to just disappear us completely.
Yep. California is fighting back. They're suing the Trump administration in its threat to keep $5 billion with a B over gender identity disclosure. Department of Education, which is headed by a wrestling executive, contends that California has violated federal privacy laws by barring school boards from passing resolutions requiring school employees to notify parents if they believe their children are transgender.
And hallelujah, in Louisiana, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals has overruled a lower court and says you can mandate having the 10 Commandments in your school.
It's we know it's it's
the basis of the United States. It has historical significance. The 10 Commandments.
If make the 10 Commandments law, and then Trump would be impeached immediately because he violates most of them. More bigotry. Let's get into the states, maybe. More bigotry from Idaho. We told you about the bill advancing to wipe out all the 16 local laws protecting LGBTQ rights. They are moving on these bills, banning trans people from using the correct restrooms, criminalizing trans people from using facilities that match gender identity. A Don't Say Gay bill. They're catching up with Florida. In the schools, a bill banning the pride flag from being flown at city and county government buildings, which a lot of the cities had been getting around by making them official city flags. It's just, it's relentless. They have nothing better to do there.
And Tennessee, the same thing, a long list of anti-LGBTQ bills, only opening the door to wider discrimination across the state on any law or statute you can think of.
Well, I mean, one of these bills states that the 14th Amendment, which requires equal protection, that only applies to state and local governments. It doesn't apply to private entities. They're going to go back to segregation before they're done.
Oh, they're halfway there. And I was a little optimistic last week that the Kansas legislature would fail to override the governor's veto of an anti-trans bill. Wrong. The legislature went right ahead and did override the veto. So the anti-trans bill is in place in Kansas.
But we have nothing to brag about in New York. It's not just the red states. New York hospitals, which have long provided gender-affirming care for minors, are ending that. And we're talking about NYU Langone, we're talking about Mount Sinai. These are big hospital systems. So there was a rally at the Stonewall to protest this.
My name is Lorelei Crean. I'm a trans rights activist, and right here, right now, I'm going to be a whistleblower to the fact that multiple New York City hospitals have been denying gender-affirming care to transgender youth because of the Trump administration. Today, NYU Langone called all minors receiving gender-affirming care and canceled all future appointments. Mount Sinai has been denying trans youth access to appointment for over a year, myself included. I began attempting to get an appointment at the start of 2025 when I was still 17 years old. My parents called Mount Sinai attempting to get an appointment to discuss getting gender-affirming care. They told my dad they would call back by Friday. Every day of that first week, I would come home from school and excitedly ask my dad if they had called, but they didn't.
Because shame on NYU Langone. Shame on Mount Sinai. Shame on every hospital that's quietly doing it and hasn't put out their press release yet. Today, it's trans youth. Tomorrow, it's all trans individuals. The day after, it is abortion rights. Do not negotiate with fascists.
Do not negotiate with fascists. And we should point out that the New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, which runs an extensive network of city hospitals, continues to advertise full gender-affirming care services at their Pride health centers. And they say they're still doing it, but they're going to be under enormous pressure of getting federal funds cut off. That means Medicare and Medicaid, which you can't survive without.
Well, that's why Mount Sinai and NYU are canceling their patients now.
And because they're cowards and they aren't willing to fight it.
Yes, and those rules are not even in full effect yet. These are proposed rules from the federal government, which may or may not survive court challenges, whatever. So the fact that they're canceling these appointments is cowardly.
But it suggests that they're transphobic at heart.
Well,
I'm just saying, so many, like the corporations who've dumped DEI. Trump got a big hand for saying no more DEI last night. They're obeying in advance. They don't really really want to do these things. They don't really want, women to be treated equally, people of color to be treated equally. So they're dumping all these things.
I'm not willing to go that far when we're talking about health care and Medicare and Medicaid, but clearly they are not fighting enough the way we would want them to.
They are fighting in San Antonio. The city has asked state officials for an exemption for its rainbow crosswalk, didn't get it. So they have started to paint the sidewalks rainbow. Let's see how long that lasts. And of course, that's also the ask around the Stonewall National Monument. Jay Walker, our friend in Rise and Resist, they're calling for the city to erect flagpoles around the Christopher Park there so that the rainbow flag will always fly no matter what Trump does.
Yeah, I have to clarify exactly what is federal land and what isn't. But meanwhile, LGBTQ Republicans in this city are amazingly silent on these issues.
Right. And let's go to Winter Pride at St. Petersburg, where rainbow lasers lit up the sky.
Many of you may have seen bright lights shining in the sky, and it is beaming with pride, all in support of Winter Pride in St. Pete, making sure that everyone knows they're loved. Fox 13's Blake Devine is live in St. Pete for us tonight. So, Blake, this can really be seen for several miles, right?
Allie, it's quite the sight to see tonight, stretching nearly 60 miles. The organizers of Winter Pride St. Pete say this rainbow carries some significant meaning.
It's a remarkable moment, right? So we have an opportunity to bring the rainbow to the skies of St. Pete. It can be seen from over 60 miles away.
Cheers erupted as 7 brilliant beams of light lit the night in St. Petersburg. People packed outside the Mary Jean Hotel looking up. For Winter Pride St. Pete organizer Rob Paul, this means more. When he came out as an adult, he knew St. Pete was the place to be.
When I got to St. Pete, seeing that crosswalk, it was life-changing for me. And also when it was removed, it had a significant impact on my heart.
He says this is a direct response to the state's decision to remove street murals and art, which also included painting over this large rainbow crosswalk, which stood in St. Pete for years.
We spent this past couple of years getting a lot of spaces erased in the LGBTQ plus communities, so we're looking at different ways to regain those spaces.
Back when that happened last year, FDOT and Governor Ron DeSantis held a news conference to explain the decision.
We have a new law and we have a new standard, and we're simply implementing that standard, and it's across the board. You know, pavement art is not allowed, and we're removing everything that's not compliant with state, federal standard.
But that didn't dim the lights on this work of art. Known as the Rainbow Girl, Yvette Matter created this work of art. She worked with certified technicians and FAA clearance to point these lasers over 50 blocks toward the beaches.
I am so proud to be able to do this right here where that rainbow was taken away.
As this rainbow shined bright, some say its symbol shines even brighter.
It symbolizes so much joy. It symbolizes being represented in this community.
And here's another live look at these lasers. They'll be up in the sky until about 3 a.m. in the morning, and then they will be back on Friday and Saturday at dusk. It's all part of a week-long festivities surrounding the St. Pete Winter Pride celebration. Reporting live in St. Pete, Blake Devine, Fox 13 News.
Thank you, Governor DeSantis, for making a million rainbows bloom all over your state.
Well, just fantastic creativity. It's so admirable and so moving. And meanwhile, Equality Florida is still spending time in Tallahassee arguing against all the bad anti-LGBTQ bills proposed in the state legislature this year. They have brought hundreds of people to Tallahassee to argue against them. And they succeeded in having the legislature add funds that had been taken away to HIV issues. And then the governor took them away again, just automatically defunded HIV.
A lot of the bad bills were beat back last year because some of the even Republican legislatures are fed up with DeSantis, who is I guess on his way out, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's term limited. There's a new race for governor there.
Okay.
But also,
yeah, go ahead.
No, we'll get to that.
The Pulse nightclub demolition is now set for March to make way for the memorial. They're going to hold on to that sign somehow. And, you know, the city is basically funding this because the private group screwed it up. And anyway, that's moving on.
The massacre was 10 years ago in 2016. Wow. 49 people killed, 53 wounded. The worst massacre of LGBTQ people in U.S. history.
It was so long ago that Donald Trump,
years,
who was running for president at the time, went down and made a visit there and suckered people into thinking he was going to be decent to us, which of course we knew he was not.
Yeah. Good news from New Hampshire, where a judge has canceled Trump's DEI ban. We'll see whether that lasts, but that's a fantastic move on the judge's part.
And good news from Texas, where a federal judge has temporarily barred a group of public school districts from enforcing the nation's first law explicitly banning LGBTQ student clubs. And, of course, there was a federal law passed by right-wingers who wanted Christian clubs in schools, and that, of course, allowed LGBTQ clubs as well.
Well, we've been talking about this for years because the law that was passed says if you allow any school clubs, you have to allow all school clubs.
Yes,
and that's how we got.
But the sponsor of this bill, Representative Jeff Leach, says, we're not going to allow gay clubs and we're not going to allow straight clubs. I guess no school dances anymore for even the straights. We shouldn't be sexualizing our kids in public school periods.
Try attending one of those club meetings and tell me how sexualized it is. In Utah, a Senate committee killed a bill that would have banned paying for gender-affirming care for trans youth. So I don't know if this is a decision that will stand, but it is at least a good sign. Maybe in New York we should do more of that and get these hospitals off the hook.
They could have, Utah's done some bad things as well. Did we do the Kentucky Supreme Court? They unanimously struck down a 2022 law allowing public funds to be spent on private charter schools. Kentucky.
Wow. Andy Bashir. And in California, in Redwood City, California, a couple of 8th grade boys came to the school and they were walking down the hallway holding hands. Well, that so offended some of the other kids at the school that at picture taking day, a group of seniors, boys, lined themselves up in the front row of the picture taking with shirts with each had a letter on it that spelled out faggots.
Yes, charming.
Yeah. They were punished for that.
Over at a couple of things from CBS News under the fascist regime of Barry Weiss, an out lesbian but a monster. Her pick for the consultant there, Dr. Peter Attia, who is a longevity influencer who gets like $100,000 to give you a personalized exercise and nutrition program. They have gotten rid of him because of his involvement with Epstein for so many years.
Yeah, they were joking about women's vaginas.
Oh, yeah, the stuff that he wrote was just vile. He said, well, that's not me really anymore. All right,
These people who do things and then say, it's not really me.
Yeah, of course it's you. And Barry Weiss has also ordered that CBS News would begin using the term biological sex in its coverage of trans issues. It's a departure from, what Trans Journalists Association, sex assigned at birth would be the phrase, which is a little more sensitive.
And Rob Shooter is writing about the disappearance of Anderson Cooper from 60 Minutes, says that really he was shoved rather than jumped, but that Barry Weiss at one point wanted him for the evening news, and he said no. And now Rob says that Barry Weiss wants to add to 60 Minutes Joe Rogan.
Yeah. Rob also says that Anderson's best friend, Andy Cohen, is the one who pushed him to cut CBS loose. He said, come on, you're not getting anywhere. They're censoring everything. Get out of there while you can. Now, of course, Anderson stays at CNN, but Trump is working on a deal to have a pro-Trump company take that over.
I think it was it Lindsey Graham who had David Ellison as his guest at the State of the Union speech last night?
That's what's going on, folks. I mean, the corporate world has never been great, in terms of a lot of stuff we care about. But the corporate people are aligned with Trump, and they want to take over all the mainstream media as well, at a time when mainstream media is failing. In Orlando, a gay man was shot and killed early Sunday morning during an altercation outside an Orlando nightclub. Police arrested, this is Julian Emmanuel Cruz, who was 33. He was leaving the club and with his partner, and these guys came by in a car, and it was speeding. So the partner yelled at them, and they came back and killed this guy.
Yeah. Terrible. And we mourn the death in San Francisco of Joshua Robeson, 79, who had a fall and then ended up dying in his sleep. He's
now, this
in the back.
This is a picture of him. In the foreground there is Michael Tilson Thomas, who is the famous conductor out there in San Francisco. And these guys met in junior high school. That they didn't immediately start dating. They met in New York later on. But wow, what a love story! And Joshua Robeson was really sort of the right-hand man at the San Francisco Symphony there for many, many years to Mr. Tilson Thomas.
Yes.
I'm going to link to the entire obit on these guys because it's a wonderful love story.
Yeah. All right. International news. Yes, the Olympics. So just I have a random list here. First of all, the out bisexual Amber Glenn, who had a terrible short program in figure skating, made a magnificent comeback to finish 5th overall in the women's figure skating final. Did a fantastic job, really did not let herself get defeated, and was enormously generous to all her competitors, supporting them, encouraging them. Really a great and glorious performance by Amber Glenn at the Olympics. And shielded the Japanese skater who had been favored going into this, who ended up coming in second, was in tears, and Amber Glenn went over and shielded her from the cameras that were trying to capture her crying. So Amber Glenn gets an honorary medal from us.
And obviously 3 cheers, for the women's hockey team who won over Canada in the final. Look at them. Lots of you spot the lesbians. There are a good number of them in there.
Well, between the U.S. and Canadian women's hockey teams, there were 9 out lesbians, including the captains of both teams, Hilary Knight and Philippe Poulin. And they both did a great job. Hilary, however, on the winning captain, before the final game, proposed to her girlfriend, Brittany Bowe, a speed skater competing at the Olympics. They had been together since the Beijing Olympics in 2022. So it all came full circle for them.
Olympics brought us together. This one made us forever, said I.
And congratulations to the LGBTQ strong ally, Alyssa Liu, who won the women's figure skating. She, oh my God, I don't know if you saw that, but she just walked away or skated away with that gold medal. And no one mentioned she was wearing a gold dress. Come on. But it was just all joy from Alyssa Liu. It was great to watch.
And of course, we will link to all the LGBTQ winners in our email from reports from Outsports.
Yeah, 40 in the end, 49 LGBTQ identified participants in the Olympics, winning 11 medals, 5 of them gold. If they had been a team, they would have finished 13th overall. 2 much bigger teams. And 3 LGBTQ participants carried flags for their countries at the closing ceremonies.
Well, people wonder why lesbians are better at sports often than non-gay women, and in proportionally, and a lot of that stems from these are women who don't give a crap what men think about, them being unladylike or something. That goes back 100 years.
More about that in entertainment news. There was one little hiccup in this. There was a lesbian couple, one on the U.S. team and one on the Canadian team. They broke up just before the final game.
Well, that's life.
It happens.
International news?
Yeah.
Well, in the Netherlands, the out-centrist politician Rob Jetten was sworn in as the prime minister of the Netherlands there. There he is with his, he's on the right, with his fiancée, who's an Argentine field hockey player, Olympic player, Nicholas Keenan. He became the youngest prime minister in Dutch history and the first out gay one. And he's got this minority government, which is a little dicey. And but there he is. There he is at the ceremony. You can see, and of course, next to him is the king of the Netherlands. And we
nice.
Now there he is with his partner. He posts this video, which I have never seen a politician post this much, public display of affection with a partner ever. You will not see Melania doing this to Donald Trump.
No, but we did see Mamdani's wedding pictures as they left the ceremony on the subway.
Yeah.
But not quite as overt.
Okay.
In Sri Lanka, they're in the midst of an economic disaster. So the gay community there proposed a campaign to encourage inclusive tourism. They wanted to go out and advertise that, but the religious right wing in Sri Lanka freaked out at the idea of the gay community being featured, and the campaign was canceled.
Okay. Police in Britain have arrested the former UK ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, an out gay, nasty politician who, in their probe into his Epstein ties, there he is with Prince Andrew, the two of them arrested this week. They're being arrested for passing on state secrets to Epstein, basically, which is, totally reprehensible, and they may end up in prison. Although Rob Shooter reports that Andrew is saying, I'll voluntarily take myself out of the line of succession if I don't have to go to jail.
And he gets to keep the corgis for the moment.
For the moment.
Yes. In Germany, the referee we've been following, a soccer referee who proposed to his partner, now is accused of stealing from the bar where he worked and faking the threats and attacks against him.
Really?
Yikes.
Yikes. So unnecessary.
Well, we don't know the final story. We're just reporting what has been accused.
Okay. Stop the presses. In a new interview, Pope Leo, the 14th, he dismisses the chance that the church will change its stance on homosexual activity. Seems very unlikely, he says, at least in the near future, which sort of suggests, I know it's a terrible policy, but I'm not going to stick my neck out for the gays, even though 80% of the curia in Rome is gay, half of his priests are gay. It's just pathetic. He says it's just going to have to stay the way it is now. I mean, people are going to have to. There's going to have to be a change in attitudes first. Well, you got to change your attitude, Holy Father.
And so do all those closeted gay priests in the Vatican.
Exactly.
In Australia, the Victoria Parliament has passed a bill forbidding early non-consensual intersex surgery. They have put together an expert panel, and they say that people can make their own choices once they're old enough to do so. Imagine that.
Okay.
And then we mourn the death in the UK of Martin Butler, co-founder of the Terence Higgins Trust. He died at 71. He was a friend of Higgins. It never occurred to me, of course, that there was a real Terrence Higgins, but he was a close friend. And when Higgins died of HIV, the first named person in the UK to die, Martin Butler created the Terrence Higgins Trust in his honor to take care of people with HIV in the UK. He was a great hero.
When they set up a hotline for AIDS at that time, the money wasn't flowing. So he used his home number as the hotline for people to get information. He was kind of immortalized in Russell Davies' TV series, It's a Sin, about the early years of the plague. And I will link to his obituary as well. And in AIDS news, I don't know if you saw today, Casey Means, Trump's pick for Surgeon General, quote unquote doctor who never did her residency to be the chief doctor of the United States, she won't say that she recommends vaccines. I wouldn't go that far. Disaster. So we'll see. Okay.
We're on our own, folks. We're on our own.
We are on our own. Don't take advice from the federal government on health. It goes on and on.
We're ready for entertainment news?
Sure.
Well, here's a movie that's just opened that I really want to see. Billy Preston, That's the Way God Planned It. Made by out gay Paris Barclay, wonderful director. Billy Preston was gay and didn't really talk about it, but did such wonderful music. Nothing from Nothing. He wrote "You Are So Beautiful" that was such a big hit for Joe Cocker. He toured with Little Richard when he was a teenager, and then of course linked up with the Beatles. And he's the only non-Beatle who's credited on Beatles records for collaborating with them. So this documentary is supposed to be really great. Billy Preston, That's the Way God Planned It, opening in theaters, I think, around the country now.
One of the Jeopardy champs this week said, well, one of the things he does in nursing homes is, they said, what kind of music do you play for them? Oh, a lot of Beatles is popular. And so Ken Jennings goes, oh, I guess they appeal to all ages. No, we're old people. The Beatles are from our generation.
Well, don't tell that to our director, Rich, who is a great Beatles expert and aficionado.
Well, no, and Rich.
Not 12, but
right.
I think they're coming back into vogue.
Okay, tell us about Cat Missile and Jess Panaton.
Well, from the show Tell Me Lies, that's Cat Missile or Missile. I'm not sure because I don't watch the show, but I read that she and her girlfriend on the right, Jess Panaton, have come out. Now, part of this is because Cat was asked, well, how would you feel about dealing with some of the horrible men like are on your show, Tell Me Lies? And she said, well, thank God I'm gay. I don't have to.
They're a very attractive couple.
They are very cute.
And Chris Cooper tells us, or Christian Cooper, that the new series streaming on Paramount, Star Trek Starfleet Academy, has gone where the franchise has never gone before. They've introduced the first gay Klingon on the show. That's Jetten, Jayden, played by Kareem Diane, a West African-American actor and songwriter who appeared in The X Factor in the U.S., so that is progress.
Well, and evidently Jetten, the character, wears a skirt, at least sometimes, has a little mild action with a boyfriend. They have planned a trip to Ibiza, which is a sort of giveaway. And when asked his hobby, he says, I watch birds. So Chris has decided this is definitely a ripoff of him. Chris wrote a different Star Trek comic book, Starfleet Academy, for Marvel in the 1990s. So I think Chris should get some royalties off this.
Well, we're giving you credit, Chris.
Yes.
That the exhibit at the New York Historical on Central Park West there on 77th, the Gay Harlem Renaissance. We've told you about it, but it's closing March 8th. So this is your last week and a half to see it.
And you have time to decide whether you want to go to a very special event on March 23rd at 7 p.m. It's a fundraiser for the Classic Stage Company. It is a staged reading of Last Summer of Bluefish Cove, which was a seminal, legendary lesbian play by Jane
Chambers.
Thank you.
Chambers, and they've been talking about bringing it to Broadway forever.
Well, I saw it years ago.
Big boy shows.
Yeah, it's about a group of 8 lesbians at a summer beach house share. It's pretty entertaining, and this benefit reading is directed by Cynthia Nixon. So if you are interested in seeing what Summer at Bluefish Cove is all about, Last Summer at Bluefish Cove, and remember, Jean Smart starred in the original production in 1980. So there's a nice little historical note too.
In London, trans actor Jinx Monsoon, who was fresh from playing Mary in Oh Mary on Broadway, is taking the role of Judy Garland in End of the Rainbow, a play I saw in London years ago. That's going to be at the Soho Theatre in Walthamstow, London. It's set in London in 1968 when Judy appeared for a series of concerts there. Monsoon is a 2-time winner of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, Jinx Monsoon is quite the star, and it's playing there from May 15th to June 21st. So get your tickets for London.
I'll be at the St. Pat's for All parade out in Queens and Sunnyside, March 1st at noon.
When is that? I'm sorry, when is that?
Sunday, March 1st.
Okay. And of course, and the No Kings third parade is coming up March 28th. So check your calendars.
We all better be there for that one.
Yeah. I think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be the biggest ever as the anger grows at the Trump administration and as people get more empowered to get out in the streets. I think this is just growing geometrically, the resistance. So, and we've always thought that what we needed was the grassroots, was people in the street. And the fact is that Trump he does respond. Even with the U.S. women's hockey team, he got so much blowback for his crappy little remark to the men that he goes to the State of the Union and says, "Oh, the women will be coming soon." Well, that's not because they're actually coming or he has any agreement. It's because he feels that he's made a misstep and he's trying to recover from it. So you can affect him, but you need a critical mass to go after him.
Okay. How much time do we have?
We have 20 seconds.
It's been very nice to be with you, and it's very nice to see you again, Anne, and I hope to see you in person next week. Rob Schutter will be co-hosting with me about a month from now when you are away.
2 months.
2 months. Well, you never know. Nice. Take care, everybody.